Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our fifth webinar in the series that we're doing. This one's called Think College AZ Expanding Opportunities for Inclusive Higher Education. I'd like to start off the webinars with a question. Today's question is, what is your favorite fall activity? Or Phoenix fall activity, I guess, or wherever you're from. Mine is, I have two kids. One is 6, and the other one is 2. And I like to see them go trick or treating because they like to change out outfits probably like 5 times and go around 5 times and get extra candy. So that is mine. By the way, my name is Jason Sneed. I'm with the Arizona Developmental Disabilities Planning Council. I'm just going to go over some Zoom guidelines real quick. The first one is we do have live captioning and ASL or sign language today. So I request if you have questions or anything like that, please speak slowly, and that includes me, so I had to slow down a little bit. But also, if you want to raise your hand and ask questions, it's star 9 at the if you're on the phone. If not, it's at the bottom of your Zoom window in the reactions button. If you want to unmute yourself on the phone as well, it is star 6. And you can talk that way. Also, there's some like emojis and stuff at the bottom of the Zoom window, so you can have some fun with those if you hear something you like. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Tracy to get us started. Take it away, Tracy.
Thanks, Jason. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today for the 5th and final webinar of Creating a Life Full of Possibilities. I am Tracy Zwei-Prziowski, the statewide transition coordinator for the Rehabilitative Services Administration, and also commonly referred to as vocational rehabilitation. I'm proud to be a part of the team collaborating to highlight the need for broader acceptance and inclusion of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities across the state. Our webinar series has been developed to help individuals with disabilities design and prepare for a life full of opportunities and possibilities. We believe every person deserves to fully participate in life rather than observe from the sidelines. That includes access to valued roles and being seen as a person rather than a disability label. It is my pleasure to introduce today's presenters. Karla Phillips-Krivickas is the founder of Inclusive Strategies and one of the nation's foremost thought leaders on education policy and reform. With over 20 years of experience in state and federal policy, she uses her unique professional and personal experiences to advise education leaders on sound policy and best practices to advance academic achievement for all students, including those with disabilities. Joining Karla will be Dr. Heidi Boldway, is the Assistant Dean of Humanities at Grand Canyon University and Director of the LOPES Academy, an immersive university campus experience for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, focused on finding personal purpose through academic, social, and job skills development. Dr. Boldway's experience caring for the neurodivergent, working in industry, working for the military, and in academics provides a unique perspective in designing and sustaining a workforce development program for the neurodivergent. Tricia Carter is a program manager at Northern Arizona University. Tricia Carver is a dedicated advocate and adept program manager with a proven record of accomplishment in effective positive change. She is currently a program manager at the Institute for Human Development and holds a master's degree in counseling and a bachelor's degree in biology.
I don't know what to do here.
Ms. Carver has over 13 years of experience designing, implementing, and overseeing programs and special projects that address critical issues.
Zoom on the people.
Yeah. I'm trying to get the full screen.
Yeah.
Adero Allison is Assistant Director, Student Accessibility and Inclusive Learning Services at Arizona State University. Adero's background is a tapestry of music, disability, and social sciences. Her experience spans over 40 years working with people with disabilities, from vocational programs to large system change projects related to disability in work, home, and employment, and currently with students in undergraduate and graduate programs. She is a scholar practitioner serving professionally as a private coach and organizational consultant. In her current position, she is coordinating the development of new initiatives to develop student supports that go beyond the provision of accommodations to life skill development and employment preparation for beyond the university. Adero can see and share where things connect and where they lead, allows her to help individuals and organizations expand their awareness and potential.
Listen to this. This is part of Garrison's thing that you've been telling me I need to do.
We do have some folks that, if you could mute your mics, we're hearing some background noise in there. So please join me in welcoming our presenters. We are grateful for their expertise and insights, and we look forward to an engaging and formative discussion. One more item. At the end of the webinar, we will share a brief survey. Please take a few moments to complete the survey and share your thoughts. Now let's hear from Karla on Think College Arizona, Expanding Opportunities for Inclusive Higher Education. Welcome, Karla.
Good morning. Thank you, Tracy. Nice to see you. Think College AZ is our beginning consortium of the growing programs we have here in Arizona for students with intellectual disabilities. And I'm going to start with a little bit of background information. Go ahead. Go ahead, slide. There you go. Oh, there we go. And this is a really important distinction because fortunately we have lots of new programs growing all across the country for kids with disabilities. But the programs we're here to talk about today are unique. And they are, and mainly because they're focused on kids with intellectual disabilities. And another way to think about it is these are kids that wouldn't typically meet entrance requirements in universities. So it's a different admissions process and requirements. They're usually non-degree seeking. There are a few programs in other places in the country that do have some degrees. They vary in length, 1 to 4 years. The level of inclusion, participation, you're going to see there's a wide array, not just here in Arizona, but all over the country. Students can earn a certificate at the end typically, but not always. And they may offer federal financial aid if they meet certain qualifications that we'll discuss in a moment. Go ahead. So why should we include students with intellectual disabilities? Now, I am guessing the mere fact that you have signed on and you're here with us this morning means I probably don't need to convince you why this is important. You probably work with our population. When I say ours, I should clarify, I have a 17-year-old daughter with Down syndrome, so it is personal for me as well. But you're probably already participating in these programs or on campuses, or you have a family member. But in case you need convincing, here are some of the reasons. Our kids need a broader array of opportunities. There's career-related topics depending on how the programs are structured. And I always like to remind people it's for the same reasons that we think typically developing kids should go to college. It expands your career opportunities. It expands your knowledge of the world. It's just all of the great reasons, making more contacts, making friends, learning independence, all of the reasons why we send our kids to college. Go ahead. I want to give us a sneak peek or a little picture of who we're talking about. Autism, I'm including some data here because, as you know, some kids with autism do have intellectual disabilities, not all, but I wanted to get an idea. So in Arizona in 2022, 1,073 students with autism, meaning they had an IEP with autism, graduated. Only 6% enrolled in a 4-year college, 16% enrolled in a 2-year college. But more distressing, only 12% have a credential 6 years later. That's the bigger problem. Go ahead. And here's really the lion's share of the population that we're talking about, are students with an IEP with an intellectual disability. In Arizona, 569 of those students graduated. Only 1% enrolled in a 4-year college. Only 5% enrolled in a 2-year college. But even worse, only 1% 6 years later have anything to show for that. Go ahead. There we go. I'm going to talk about the Higher Education Opportunity Act in 2008. And this was actually a really personal moment for me. This is when the Higher Education Opportunity Act was reauthorized. But rewind the tape in my life, and I was actually serving as ASU's Director of State Government Relations. So I was their lobbyist. And I literally remember sitting in my office getting emails about this. Now, mind you, my daughter was approximately 6 months old. So this whole world of intellectual disability was so new to me. And I remember reading all about this bill thinking, I'm not sure, but I think this is a really big deal. And that's why I joke, if you were here earlier, that we've gone from where I'm going to describe in 2008 to a year where now we have a gentleman with an intellectual disability, not only in the Clemson Life program, but being accepted into a fraternity. So we've come a long way since 2008. But why this was important is because, one, traditionally, most universities didn't have a process for kids who wouldn't typically qualify. They didn't have that separate admissions process or programs developed. But another reason this was important is the federal government was not only authorizing these and accelerating and incentivizing the creation of these programs in this year. If you met the certain criteria, which was a CTP, a comprehensive transition post-secondary program, then you qualify for federal financial aid. So that's why this was a really big deal back in the day. But the federal government also seeded funds for model demonstration projects and a coordinating center. The National Coordinating Center is called Think College. That's why I generally refer to as Think College programs too. thinkcollege.org, if you've never been on that website, highly advise it, but put some time aside because you're going to get sucked into some really great stuff, not just technical stuff, but great student stories and really encouraging things. That's also why we're now at least starting calling it Think College Arizona here in Arizona until we maybe come up with a different name. But that Technical Assistance Center has made a big deal, and they also seeded funds for programs. And we're going to hear University of Arizona was one of the very first in that first cohort, which we'll talk about in a minute. It also required the development of program accreditation standards, which just came out, I believe, 2 years ago. And that is also a sea change because now our programs have criteria and really aspirational goals of how programs should be created, but I'll let our program folks talk about that too. And we finally have some data. Go ahead. So what do we have? So from 2008 to now, we now have 338 programs across the country. It blows my mind. 90 of them enroll specifically transitioning youth, meaning they're still high school students. We have one of those here in Arizona, which we'll talk about in a second. So they're kind of considered under the Think College umbrella, but they are not. And only because the big distinction is because they're still high school students, they're not going to qualify for federal financial aid yet. But they're still considered kind of Think College programs. The 338, which we'll see a map. Go ahead. There's the map. And that was updated just a few months ago.
You don't want any to go to Oregon?
We will share the slides, make them publicly available. So you may want to sit and look at this. I know I look at this map frequently because I'm just amazed.
I'm just getting
what we have now across the country.
Arizona right now.
I would like to encourage everybody to go ahead and mute their
computers.
Oregon We're hearing somebody.
One program.
Jason, maybe you can. I don't know if we can do it from the back end.
I don't.
All right, go ahead and forward the slides. And here's some of just a snippet of the resources you'll find on Think College website. And we're going to go ahead and go to the first program. Unfortunately, Stephanie from U of A could not be with us, so I'm going to kind of speak on their behalf. I'm going to try to do them justice. But they're first because they were our first. They were in that very first TIPSID cohort. They are a transitioning youth program. So Project Focus, obviously, as you can see, it's housed in the College of Education at the University of Arizona. It's considered a dual enrollment program. So some people call them transitioning youth programs. Depending on the state, it's a dual enrollment program. They take about 15 students per year, and you have to be in one of their partner Tucson school districts because it's a transition program, and it also helps provide for some of the resources. Now, the tuition is $7,200. That's $3,600 a semester. And the school districts provide some support. And I think VR does too. I'm not sure about U of A since it's a transition program, but I think they do as well. But their first cohort was all the way back in 2011. Go ahead. Again, they're a transition program between high school and adult life. You have to have an intellectual or developmental disability qualified. It's a 2-year program. Because it's still high school students, they're between 18 and 22. They take U of A classes, have internships, and participate in all the social activities across campus. It's very exciting. I've had the pleasure to visit this program. Go ahead. Dr. McFarland is their director, and this is their team. You can see some of the things they offer, as well as some of the great students they've had over the years. It's a really special program with the school districts. And part of their strategic plan is their commitment to increasing campus diversity and inclusion. That's how it fits into the U of A mission. And their core values of integrity, compassion, exploration, adaptation, inclusion, and determination. Sometimes I could just sit and look at the pictures, right? They're just so encouraging. They have partnerships with these colleges, meaning that there are courses that they can take in these colleges on campus. And they have an incredible partnership with the staff and the faculty. As you can imagine, this was a big change for all of our universities, which again, I don't want to steal the thunder from our university folks. I'm sure they'll talk about what a change this is. Certainly, I didn't see students like my daughter when I was in college. Go ahead. These students have internships all over campus, bookstores, libraries, museums, student union, and some of them also get work opportunities off campus in the community. So that is Project Focus. Again, to participate, you have to be in one of their Tucson school district partners. So if you have friends in Tucson, I encourage you to tell them about this great program. Now we are going to transition to GCU, and I'm going to pass it over to Heidi. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Welcome, everyone. I have a nephew that has autism, and experiencing my brother and his wife navigating the school system. My nephew just started kindergarten, so he's really excited about it. The LOPES Academy was actually started by a parent who approached the GCU president. His daughter wanted to go to college like her brother. Oh, goodness. There we go. Sorry. Gotta love this energy saving automation. She wanted to go to college like her brother, and there just wasn't any opportunity for her that they found in the area where they lived. So he approached the president of the university and proposed an idea. So that's how the LOPES Academy was born. And LOPES Academy stands for Learning Opportunities for Participation and Engagement in Schools. And you can see the mission of the LOPES Academy there. And it provides an inclusive, immersive Christian university experience for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities focused on finding personal purpose through academic, social, and job skills development. Next slide, please.
What is that?
So it's the cohort, we have 2 cohorts running right now, 2 separate cohorts. Ages are 18 to 27. And we have 7 not for credit academic classes. And the classes are taught by college faculty. And they're really interested in working with the demographic and just love helping them grow.
Oh,
They have
she
workshops
was
in the
she's not
afternoon. They have
affiliated with
chapel.
one of
They
the
attend
school
chapel
districts
every
here.
Monday with the general
Yeah.
student population.
Well, that's,
And we have over 7,000 students attending chapel. So as an alternative, we provide a live streaming options for those that have a sensitivity
this is
concern so that they can
obviously
attend chapel in a
oriented
different
towards
format.
people with
They can attend any social
high
activities
school
they want on campus.
disabilities.
They're
but
integrated into
there may be
everything. They can use the fitness center
parallel
on
programs
campus.
that are
There's
for
just a lot of
adults.
activities going on. We also have peer mentors for the
thinking of
participants in the program. And the
keeping
peer
her
mentors are a
here
scholarship
so you
position.
know her
This is
social
all
security?
over
My
the
apologies, Heidi. Let's take a moment.
Okay, so why don't
My
we have the
apologies, but
programs
can we
in
please
Oregon?
have everyone mute their
I'm going to
microphones during the presentation unless you're going to be asking a question?
Rebecca.
We would really appreciate that so we can
And
all hear the
this
presenters.
is another thing that I'm now aware
I
of.
think there's an option to mute all
This was
participants.
something that was started apparently in 2008, and they did say that there were
Thank you, Jason. All right, Heidi.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, so we have peer mentors. We have a peer mentor program that are involved with interacting with the participants just so they can really have that inclusive university experience. They have access to everything on campus, including the credit classes. If they want to see what that's like, they can attend the classes with their peer mentor. This is a scholarship position, and many of them choose to be peer mentors because they know they're going to interact with the neurodivergent in their professions. We have a lot of pre-med students. Of course, we have special ed students that get involved with the program. We have individualized internships on campus. So we just started with the cohort that's going to graduate here in 2025. They're exploring internship opportunities throughout campus. And they have we have, like every university, it's a city within a city. So they get exposed to retail, to food services, to athletics. We have a golf course on campus. So there's a lot of options that they can be exposed to. Of course, they have access to campus events. We also have parent meetings because, parents don't know what they don't know. And especially in this critical point where they're transitioning from high school into adulting, and many of them want to live independently from their guardians. So this is an opportunity to help navigate Social Security, all that kind of transitioning into adulting. Next slide, please. So the classes that we have for the students include communication and social skills, and that actually continues through all of the courses because that's the biggest challenge with the neurodivergent population is how to socialize and how to interact with others. Of course, we have Christian worldview, a Christian focus since we're a Christian university. They learn about professionalism and customer service. Nutrition and well-being is a huge one because if they want to live on their own, we want them to make good choices with their own health. We have math for daily living, as well as their internship capstone, which is their internship on campus. And that actually culminates with a presentation. We have a senior showcase, and the participants are integrated with the general student population to present their year-end project to employers, faculty, staff, and students. And we've actually had some students be employed directly from this senior showcase. Walgreens was recognized the abilities of the individuals in the program, and they've really jumped on board with partnering with our program. And each of the students, you'll see in the middle is a retail certificate. It's an industry recognized retail certificate that the students earn in the program so that they can take this and really build their resume with some solid backing. And you'll see our website is there for more information on the program. And we have 20 graduates right now and 23 currently enrolled. So we are really growing. Next slide, please. And I already spoke about the peer mentors. And these are the campus internships that are on campus, different opportunities. Next slide, please. A few photos of their internships and their experience on campus. Next slide, please. And this is their post-program employment. And this, I just have to point out, Kyle and Jaden, they had their internship in our LOPES shop, and they did so well that they actually created positions for them and hired them, and they did have a need. It wasn't they just didn't just create the positions. And they won, they earned Employee of the Month on their own. And Jaden on the right, he actually didn't speak much when he came into the program, and he grew so much and he became such a speaker. He speaks to different groups on campus. He'll upsell you in the Lope shop. If you walk in there to buy something, he will upsell you. He works the cash register now. He has really grown. And during a time when he was speaking during our parent meeting, his mom was sitting next to me, and she started crying because she just couldn't believe how much he grew. She said he has never spoken to a group of people like this. And she was just floored by what she was experiencing. So programs like ASU, U of A, NAU, and GCU, they really, really accelerate the growth of neurodivergent population. Next slide, please. I don't know if you can show this video or not, if it will show, but it was there should have been a video link on this slide, and it was it's a video of one of the participants reading his acceptance letter into the program and just how excited he was to go to college. But it doesn't look like we can see that video, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you can imagine how excited he was.
I don't see any link or anything, I'm sorry. So,
Oh, no worries, that's okay. Thank you.
Go ahead and forward that one more slide, and then the picture at least will show up.
Oh, there it is. Perhaps if you arrow down to the bottom of the picture, I believe that was where you could play it. No, okay, that's okay. No worries. You get the idea, but he was so excited.
Heidi, we did have a question in the
Okay.
chat. It says, "Good morning. I am the mother of Nathaniel. He is with Down syndrome. This is great information. Is it possible to send it to me via email so that I can go back and freshen?"
Yes, of course. You can send an email. I'll put it in the chat to lopes.academy@gcu.edu, and we're happy to send you more information.
And just a reminder that the presentation today is being recorded and will most likely be available after. So,
And I guess I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
I think we have a question in the chat. What are the requirements for these programs? I can speak to U of A because the main requirement is that you have to be still a student enrolled in one of the surrounding Tucson school districts. That one's a little bit unique. And of course, have to have an intellectual disability. Heidi, I don't know if you can speak to GCU.
Yes, on our website, we have essential elements for the program. And generally, just in general, 18 to 27 years old, able to take care of themselves. And, you'll see the essential elements on the website, but that's basically it. And they do go through an interview process, a tour on campus, just to make sure it's a fit for them and a fit for the parents. We all have a little bit different programs, and we refer to each other because we want to make sure that it's a fit for the individual.
All right, thank you. We're going to transition to NAU, and Tricia, I'm sure you can also speak to the program requirements there. And the gentleman that we just got that question from is from Yuma, so you might want to speak to Yuma as well.
I think I know who that gentleman is. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tricia. I am with the Supporting Inclusive Practices in Colleges, or SIPC program, that is housed at Northern Arizona University's Institute for Human Development. We were launched in 2020 through funding from the ADDPC as a pilot demonstration project, and then we're awarded the transition and post-secondary programs for students with intellectual disabilities, or TIPSID program, that Karla mentioned earlier. We serve individuals aged 18 to 26 with intellectual disabilities throughout the Northern Arizona region. And more recently, we have started partnering with Arizona Western College down in the Yuma area. So we are currently supporting and accepting students that are attending our partner institutions, and those are Northern Arizona University, Coconino Community College here in Flagstaff, Mojave Community College, which has locations in Mojave County. I'm not certain I can rattle all of them off. Bullhead City and Kingman and Lake Havasu, and I might have another one. Northland Pioneer, which is farther east of Flagstaff, with a bunch of locations as well. And then Arizona Western College in Yuma and San Luis. So SIPC strives to improve the outcomes of individuals with intellectual disabilities through participating in post-secondary education experiences. We support them by providing educational coaching, employment coaching, and peer mentors. Go back a couple slides, sorry. We promote full inclusion in the post-secondary education experience and encourage independent living and gainful employment. So our vision, as is outlined on this slide currently, is that when individuals with intellectual disabilities self-determine and advocate for their education and have consistent access to support in an inclusive, authentic, and appropriate environments, they will achieve improved transition experiences. They will have an increase in their overall quality of life. Next slide, please. So we execute our vision through implementing our core values. One of those values is the front door first. And what we use that label to mean is that we encourage our students to utilize the campus resources that are readily available to them and available to all students on campus. And we encourage them to utilize those before looking for specialized services. And then we encourage them to self-advocate and use their self-determination. We also work to increase institutional awareness at all of our campuses or through our partner institutions. So we set the bar high to help students achieve their expectations, build good habits, and develop their soft skills. So to kind of highlight some of that, I wanted to speak a little more on some of the specifics of what our students are doing. Our students participate in all aspects of the college life. They fulfill the same course requirements as their peers or their non-disabled peers. They participate in clubs, they join study groups, they're regularly meeting with their peer mentor who can help them, develop relationships with others in the classes. We connect them with tutors, including the tutors on campus and some specialized tutors as needed. They work pretty closely with disability resource offices. And then we work closely with ASTAP and Phoenix to connect our students to assistive technology and completing assistive technology assessments as needed. In general, most of our students are part-time. They take an average of 6 credits or 2 classes per semester. About 60, a little over 60% of them are pursuing their associate's or 2-year degree. We have about 11% of our students that have been pursuing their master's. We just had a student graduate this fall with her 4-year degree in teaching. We're very excited to see her continuing to work specifically in education. And then finally, we have about 22% or a little over 20% of our students are just pursuing a certificate. Most of those tend to be certificates in like their Google IT cert. We see a lot of them going into the technology fields. The majority of our students, over 60% of our students, are attending classes in person, with about 30% of them, or just below 30 of them, are doing classes online. We encourage students to take classes in the way that works best for them. We have some students that will start in online classes and then realize that they do better in a in-person setting. And we've had students do the opposite as well. Additionally, more than half of our students maintain a part-time or full-time job while taking classes, which really helps them build some of those, employment skills, and helps them remain focused on like how the information they are learning in their classes might relate to future jobs and positions of employment. All right, next slide, please. So here are some longer quotes from some of our students, the one on the left being one of our students who started in our program in a 2-year program and then transitioned from the community college to NAU into a 4-year degree program. This student also then became one of the peer mentors for our other students in our class, in our program. So he works part-time with our program and has just been really exciting, and it's amazing to see the changes that we have seen through as the student has worked through our program. Additionally, this student, along with several of our students, have attended different conferences with our leadership team and or coaches, and presented at the conference to other families and other professionals on their experience in their post-secondary environment. And those have always been highly attended. So it's exciting to see our students develop some of those professional work, professional speaking and presentation skills as well. If you'll go to the next slide, that'd be great. And finally, here are just some QR codes with our contact information. On the left will link you to our website, which will give you a place to fill in your information as an interest form, and our coaching staff will reach out to you and answer questions for you. And on the right are just our link to our socials. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. I don't see any specific NAU questions, but we're gonna have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So if you want to start putting them in the chat. While I transition to ASU, Adero, would you like to tell us about what's coming at ASU?
Yes, I get to be last because we're last getting into this, but following COVID, I was asked to start some new initiatives within what was formerly known as our Disability Resource Office. We are Student Accessibility and Inclusive Learning Services, and we needed something inclusive that went beyond the mandated accommodations that students already get. Next slide, please. One of the things we wanted to do was address the ASU charter. We are a comprehensive public research university, measured not by whom we exclude, but by whom we include and how they succeed. And if you drop down, it says, and we assume fundamental responsibility for the economic, social, cultural, and overall health of the community we serve. In order to do that, we felt a need to serve a broader community, and we began a process called Lifelong Inclusive Framework in Education, or LIFE. The LIFE framework provides additional support to students with disabilities through a number of continuing and new program offerings, and one of those is the development of comprehensive transition post-secondary program, which is in development. Next slide, please. So we are really still very much in development. We've passed the dean's approval, we've passed the provost approval, and we're now honing the last details on our 2 certificates. The Career Exploration 24 credit hour certificate is basically a 2-year certificate program for individuals with intellectual disability who have completed high school or exited out of the free and public education process. Those individuals are eligible to apply and would go through an interview process. And then the program includes Intro to Executive Functioning, Inclusive Life Skills, which would be an elective in a course within the university with all other students, career exploration, career-focused courses of interest based on a person-centered planning process as they enter the program. The second certificate is a longer one, career development and exploration. That one is a 3-year certificate. I met a student last year whose job skills are there. His father owns a company. He's already welding. He just needs the social skills. So he would probably take our 2-year certificate so that he get experience working with people, interacting with people, and learning the skills, the social skills necessary for a job. A person who's unsure about which direction they're going to go. Maybe they're interested in music and realize once they get here, you know, I'm not really as good as I thought. I can't get a career in this, but I have another interest. That individual, we would help explore career opportunities, look at what's available to them in various areas that they're interested in. And again, they would go through working toward internship. Both certificates would allow for internship toward the end, but the longer one might allow for job shadowing to see, is that really the place I want to work, as well as internships and hopefully placements for employment by the time they're finished. Next slide. So what we really are emphasizing right now, and we met with our advisory council and talked about this, is planning now for transitions and supports. Is the student a self-advocate? Can they manage their own self-care needs? Can they learn from criticism or correction? And just learning how to hear that criticism and think about it rather than just immediately reacting. And do they know who to ask when they need help? Having and following schedules, is the student able to transition between locations? And if that's going to be a problem, what kind of supports will they need to make those transitions? If you have not visited ASU, I had someone from out of town today marveling at how huge we are. The Tempe campus is a city within a city. So students coming to our program will really need to be able to navigate a large environment and ask for help when they get lost. And there are lots of people in green t-shirts stationed around the campus, around the work-only zone, who will be happy to help them find the right direction. How are you able to set and stick to a schedule? Do you make friends easily? Do you know how to set boundaries? Those are some of the following schedules questions. And then stepping into adulthood, are you prepared to work hard? Do you know how to say no without starting an argument? Because sometimes no is the right answer, but you have to be able to say it in a way that allows you to continue the relationship. And then can you negotiate a mutually agreeable solution? We're working with people, we hope to work with students who are interested in building on these skills. If they have them started, that will help. And then we will work with them to strengthen those skills, working with them in interview settings, working with them in classroom settings, working with them in social settings. Students who participate in our program will have access to the full university. They will have an ID card, just like any other ID card, that lets them in to get their food, to participate in student events, to go to games. The games are free for students. So all of those things. And then most of our coursework will be totally inclusive. So classes with other students. We are in partnership, and I guess you can go to the next slide now. We're in partnership with the Sanford School of Social and Family Dynamics. Dr. Purahito, teaching professor, and I are partnered in developing these programs to make sure they meet academic standards that provide the students with some real skill development and real career back foundation. So there's full engagement with the campus community, executive function and career preparation taught by our staff. So just a couple of those classes right at the front end, as well as ongoing relationships with the students to help them follow their person-centered plan and modify it if it needs modifying. and in challenging coursework with other college students. So that is essentially it. You see our team. Oh, look at that. I have another slide. So we called it maroon and gold. We're not sure it's maroon and gold. I probably should have pulled that slide out. We're still waiting for approval on the name, but that shows you the core of the coursework, core academic courses in the student's area of emphasis. On-campus living will be optional. Internship and employment opportunities, extracurricular activities, peer mentors and program buddies to help with interacting around campus, person-centered planning from the beginning and guided through the whole time they're here, and integration with vocational rehabilitation, other community supports as appropriate to make sure they do prepare for a specific job, and then academic advising, career planning, and employment preparation. We're anticipating a cohort of 8 students. We think we're going to start next fall. I can't make you any promises, but we're getting closer. I think the rest of this I've pretty much talked about. And we will apply for the CTP certification so that students will be eligible for financial aid.
All right, next slide. I think
Yeah,
we're.
That's all. They won't.
All right, I just want to make sure. Thank you very much, Adero. We're all keeping our fingers crossed. I never try not to show my bias, but of course I am a Sun Devil in heart, so sorry. Any questions? We've got some time here. I also want to mention, if you remember that slide where Adero was talking about kind of like the list of things that they're hoping students will be able to do and master before they come. We are working on a one-pager. We're calling it the 20 graduation targets. We meaning all of us from the folks that you just heard from through the council, and we are in final design. We have everybody's email, so when it's ready, we will send it out to you. And it's really the 20 things that parents can be working on at home, maybe embed in their transition IEP, maybe work with VR on. So we're really excited to have that. And I'm also putting a link in the chat for everyone. The Developmental Disability Council is forming kind of a parent advisory council as well, really because we need to continue to hear from the field, from parents about what we think is needed out there for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. As much as I'm so proud of what we've been able to accomplish in these 4 programs, even at max, we're looking at maybe 100 kids, at least for now. So we know we definitely need to expand and start thinking about rural Arizona a little bit more and more community colleges. So if you'd like to be a part of that and get updates from us, there's a link in the chat to sign up, and it's just to fill out a quick Google form, and we're keeping a list. And also we have a parent convening. This will be an in-person event on October 3rd at the Ability 360, which we can also send you a link for. It's really going to be a replication of the same content, but a little bit more intimate and hopefully more conversational with parents. Because quite frankly, what we're hoping to do is identify parents that are willing to start championing this. The states that have really been able to grow and even get legislative support have been states that have had some parents that have really been championing these programs. So that's what we're hoping to do as well. So I want to go ahead and open it up to any questions. I'm seeing one question about the slides. Yes, we will PDF the slides and send them out to everybody who signed up.
Yeah, we do have some hands up as well. So
What's up?
Yeah, we have some previous questions in the chat,
Yep.
Carla.
Yeah, I'm seeing.
So
How far to go. I saw one about the age range for ASU.
yeah, we did have somebody who would like to know the age range for the ASU program.
Okay, I don't have a top age, and as long as they have opted out of the free and public education, then they would be eligible to apply. So generally 18 and above.
meaning that they have either aged out of high school at 22 or they've received an official Arizona diploma, because that would end FAPE under our law. I see a question of where can I get information about higher functioning options for college where students would have assistance with regular degreed programs. I think that would be just the DRCs in general. I use that term loosely, disability resource centers.
So here's
question.
my webpage. I put that in there. The inclusive learning services includes GATE, which addresses the needs of students with who are neurodivergent and accepted to the university, as well as this program that we're developing and our mentoring program. I Am Mentoring is for any students registered with Student Accessibility.
Yeah, so as I indicated earlier, there's kind of two different ways to think about these IPSI, some people call them IPSI, inclusive post-secondary education programs, within college programs. Those are specifically defined as programs for students with intellectual disabilities. And also another way to think about it, students that wouldn't typically qualify or go through the admission process. There's a separate admission process. So then you've got kids who can qualify and get in, and that's when there's different accommodations and things. So there's kind of two ways to think about the division. Again, any of my university friends chime in if you think if I'm missing anything. Do we see any other questions up?
Looks like we have a raised hand by Lindsay Vasquez.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I had emailed Mr. Sneed a bunch of comments and questions last week, and so it was a rather lengthy email, so I'm just going to try to comprise all of the thoughts. But let me just say, I'm a little disappointed that I didn't see anybody on here from Maricopa County colleges, because we have just encountered some interesting things that you wouldn't think would be an issue, but of course it all comes down to communication. And they need to really work on their website and making sure that everything that a student might need to come into like an off-campus testing area is there for the students, so that we're not setting them up to fail. For example, there are some classes that require in-person testing, math courses, science, etc. And you know, I called, my son's 17, he's a sophomore in college, and I feel like that's probably one area we're not addressing. We're not addressing the students with disabilities who also are high in academics, and the colleges don't seem to be prepared to deal with kids who are minors. And as a parent of, you know, I still am advocating for him, and he's learning to advocate for himself. There's a big push for self-advocacy, you know, parents don't delay, etc. But I got to tell you, as a certified teacher, most 17-year-olds are scared to death to give an in-person presentation in front of their typical peers. So I do think it's really lame that we put all this stress on these kids, minors, children, they're still 17. And I don't know if anyone has read the same books as me, but you know, we have planet age and then we have real age. So I have a 17-year-old, but he's more like a 15-year-old. So he's not going to come into an ASU interview with sales with all the same jargon that his parents, you know and that he's heard and he's somewhat familiar with. And so that's ASU. Hold on, because I do have a comment there, but just basics, right? Testing centers. There's nowhere on Rio Salato's website that indicates that a student has to have the same cell phone used at registration when they come into the testing place, and that's probably, you know, the situation for all of Rio Salato's testing centers, right? And so why isn't that on the website? It's still not listed there a year later. They've got 2 pages of testing procedures, and that's still not on there. Now, my son doesn't even have a cell phone. Good job, Mom, I know, right? And so when his dad took him for his test, geology, you know, it took 25 minutes to get him testing. And I asked all the right questions twice. And this is like in August, and so this is like a geology midterm, right? October of last fall. And so I asked, do I have to make an appointment for him? Does he need to make an appointment himself? Will he be able to use the private testing rooms? How do you know that he has accommodations? No, he doesn't need an appointment. Yes, we have those. And we'll know what accommodations he has when he comes to sign in, Mom. I'm like, okay, great. So of course it all goes to pot, and he was forced to test in a regular testing room because at check-in there wasn't anything indicating that this kiddo had accommodations, such as extra time in a private testing room. So my husband's frantic, texting me. I'm trying to work from home, and it's like, okay, not great. And so I reached out to who's in charge of disability consulting and managing and whatever, and everyone's short-staffed, and I get that too. So I'm trying to give grace, but it turns out that whoever's supposed to be driving around to these testing centers and making sure that they're compliant, because MCCD receives money monthly to have these private testing rooms. These private testing rooms, at least the one in the Surprise area, was used as private storage. A bunch of UPS boxes were stacked in there. I took a picture, actually had my husband drive me back. I said, let's take a picture because this is media worthy, but I want to give somebody the opportunity to correct this because this is not okay. So as a parent of a college student, and I have an older son in college too, so we've been there. I'm also ASU alum, certified teacher. So I've been through a lot of hoops and ropes and jumps and all this good stuff. And I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because I'm trying to make it an easier experience on my son, but yet I can't rely on the systems that are supposed to be in place to help him. So as it turns out, this lovely woman and I had a conversation. She also did a presentation in 2016 to the ADCP Council. So one of my questions to Mr. Sneed was, is DDD eventually going to be taking more of an active role in our members' pursuit of higher education? Because, as a minor, I'm telling his support coordinator, like what transpired, and this was like a whole week of, he had to end up dropping the course and re-enrolling in another course because obviously he failed. He was not able to test in a regular testing environment. And when the disability manager is asking me, well, why? What is preventing him? I said, first of all, he's supposed to have that private testing room, a computer, a desk, and a chair. That's all that he needs. Whatever's in the regular testing room, that's what I want for him in the private one. Not open bags of candy, not a mug, not cleaning supplies or a hokey or a vacuum, no UPS boxes, nothing, just those basic things. And I'm surprised because I did a little digging, and this same person is also a contracted vendor with her partner with DDD. And this person is asking me about behaviors and diagnosis. This person should know more than anyone what this diagnosis is and what could come along with it, what could present. So as a parent, I am so tired of having to, explain diagnosis, prove disability. And so that was Rio Salado last fall. I'm just sad to see that things have not really improved as far as what they require kiddos because they're setting them up to fail when they come to take their tests. Now, ASU, I called ASU Schools Department. Really quickly, I just want to ask Miss Allison. I really tried to get the big wig guy to call me back or email me because I really feel like transparency is really important. And really, I'm sitting here with a potential transfer student to either NAU, U of A, or ASU. And I really just want him to pursue the degree that he wants in an area that he wants. And right now, that degree is only offered in person. ASU has the classrooms. They have the technology with monitor screens. He's in a class right now on Monday afternoons. I drive him down there from the West Valley. It's a 4-hour trek. I don't understand why disability, inclusion, equity, I don't understand why they won't be more transparent about the types of accommodations they might be willing to offer him if he were to transfer to ASU as a junior and pursue his degree. So that's another thing that's kind of keeping us from going any further. And when I had the 30-minute conversation, I scheduled an appointment and talked to a CSW. I mean, it just didn't go very well because it was just repeated information. And what I don't understand is why we are asking parents, ASU is asking parents to sit with their kiddo and go through this piece of paper that's on their website and prep them for these questions, but they don't want to talk to parents. They don't want parents to be involved. The kid has to self-advocate. And I understand the importance
Can
of
I respond to you?
but it just really, there's got to be so much more parent involvement. And
Lindsay,
that's why a lot of kids aren't pursuing degrees.
Lindsay,
I
may
wanted to cut you off at
respond?
1 second and just tell you, I'll let Adero address some questions. The reason we didn't have Maricopa here, we want to talk about that, is this particular presentation is about unique programs for intellectual disabilities, non-degree seeking programs that are new and are building across the country, let alone our state. And we definitely need Maricopa at the table, but that's why the conversation is really narrow for this particular thing. I'd love to talk to you offline about some of this. I'm sure Adero would be willing as well, but the council's role is specifically for kids with developmental and intellectual disabilities, and that's what these programs are about. I fully agree with you as the mother of two children with disabilities of some of the issues that are out there. But I just wanted to apologize and tell you that's why we didn't specifically invite Maricopa. There is actually potentially a new program happening in one of the college districts that I'm actually going to meet with someone about in 2 weeks. But again, the conversation was about typical programs developed specifically for intellectual disabilities, non-degree seeking students who can't qualify through the traditional admissions process.
And I would be willing to talk with you offline as well. I'm putting my email in the link in the chat so you can pull that and we can talk about the requirements that we're under. But there are a number of legal reasons that we talk to students. And if you accompany a student, then we talk to you and the student together. But generally speaking, if you just call in, we can't legally respond to you about your student because we're in an adult setting and we're under non-discrimination laws, not under entitlement laws.
Lindsay, I've also put some information directly to you regarding some assistance that's been offered by one of our VR staff. So her contact information has been sent to you directly in the chat.
And I just put my email there as well, Lindsay, if you'd like to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk through some of these things with you. I'm also seeing a question that is really related to one of the things that Lindsay's talking about and is a really sensitive subject nationally when it comes to college programs for kids with intellectual disabilities, and it's guardianship. It's something that we as a small group have been talking about. It's a question that a lot of the programs nationally has been wrestling with. In fact, I've been getting information from some of our friends across the country for us all to be talking about soon. And I'm facing that decision myself. My daughter is 17. But it kind of talks to not only what Adero is mentioning in terms of the legal requirements of being in an adult setting and who they can talk to, but it's also looking at, if you remember those kind of core competencies that Adero mentioned, like some of the things that they're expecting. And if you look at the LOPES Academy's website, I know you have those essential elements. That's really what they're talking about is, are they able to do some of these things alone? Now we have a wide continuum and a range of programs that are out there, including nationally, in terms of inclusivity, quite frankly. Some are a lot more inclusive and independent than others. Personally, I think that's great. I think we need programs for lots and all different kids, right? But I will tell you, I got some information from another program nationally, because I've been seeking counsel for our programs here. They have, when you have a residential program, it's all different too. So one of the comments I got from another college was, and this might make some of us mamas cringe, but that they want their program to be as inclusive as possible, meaning that these students are going to parties and having relationships with people of the other sex. And, you know, there's no curfew. And that's where these conversations get really sticky really fast too, especially when it comes to guardianship.
Karla, it looks like we have another raised hand. Yvonne, would you like to ask your question?
Hi, good morning. I guess my question was more regarding I asked before, what are the requirements? Because I have a kid that falls on the medium to like high end of the autistic spectrum. So I know there are many things that he can do intellectually. I mean, he can do many things that many other kids can. But when it comes to self-awareness and behavior and boundaries and stuff, he has more issue with that, right? He can function if there is somebody constantly reminding him that, okay, this is not okay and stuff like that. But I don't know if there is any program that will include kids that need more support.
I can go ahead and address that. Each program in each of the universities have different requirements with the focus on the purpose of their program. So you look at their websites and what the essential elements are, or the requirements for entry into the program, and that would answer your question. All of our programs have an individualized approach to supporting students. So my advice to you is just look at each website and also Think College. Think College is a great resource. It has a directory of all programs that are available, and they have the requirements for each program listed. So it's a fabulous resource.
Because I guess as you were mentioning, it's not just about like what I want for him, is what my kid is aware of going to college. He sees his younger sister going to college. It's just something he wants to do. I don't care if he has a degree or not. I know that I will have to provide for him for his lifetime, right? But I just need him to experience what he really wants to. So I don't know if any of these programs, and I see like California, I mean, the population might be like 5 times more than Arizona, but they do have way more opportunities for them. So I'm happy that ASU is gone on board. So hopefully there is some chances for my son to attend any of these programs.
Thank you, Yvonne. And that's exactly why we're having a meeting like this. I think this is our first at the council, and also the parent convening in person and the opportunity to develop this advisory council, because we need to hear what are the needs out there in the state, not only by disability and type, but also by rank or by location in the state, and what's really out there and what we need. So it's kind of, we're also taking a little bit of an inventory. Thank you.
We had another question in the chat. One that said, how are these programs partnering or collaborating with high schools to support transition planning?
I can say that I meet with high schools periodically and provide information, go out and meet with students at high schools to share with them what we're doing and to ask them what they need. Clearly, my program's not started yet, but I've been meeting with high schools for over a year, and we will continue to do that.
The LOPES Academy does the same thing. We attend tabling events at a high school as well as parent meetings just to help socialize the program and the opportunities that are available for their children.
I was going to say the same thing for NAU's program. We're covering most of the northern part of the state of Arizona, which means we try very hard to hit the majority of, or the high schools, but they are very spread out and wide, which is why our coaching team is spread out across the northern part of the state. We're not in them as much as we would like, but we are trying very hard to build those relationships with the students. And especially in rural Arizona, it's a challenge to, oftentimes our students they don't think college is an option for them. The idea of it is not introduced to them in, potentially junior high, like it might be to some of their non-disabled peers. And so they just don't start thinking about it until like what's next, instead of thinking at an earlier age.
And remember, specifically U of A's program is exactly that. It is a targeted transition program for students that are still in high school, and it counts for their transition requirements. So they're 18 to 22. Personally, I'd like to see a lot more of those. I think as a Developmental Disability Council meets, we're going to continue to figure out ways to kind of incentivize that, because quite frankly, especially Arizona is very unique in that we only have 4 big universities, 3 public, 1 private. As you guys know, especially if you're from the East Coast, there's like a college on every corner in those states. So really, in order to reach students in Arizona, the community colleges are the leverage point, to Lindsay's point. I mean, we have to work more with community colleges. And I'm going to put a link. I wrote a paper for Think College on these types of programs if you'd like to take a look and help us figure out ways to partner more with the community colleges. I'm going to pull it up in a second. Do we have any other questions? Oh, I did see one about preparation. Tracy, do you see that one?
I'm checking for that one. We did have one about options for higher education for higher functioning individuals that I came across.
Yeah, I think that when you check with a college or university, you have to figure out what is at that specific institution. And like I said, we have a program for students who are already in the university. The GATE program is not accommodations, it is extra supports, executive functioning and career development supports on top of what they're already getting if they've requested accommodations. So that is one program, but each university that you talk to will have something different. And even at ASU, there are supports that are not under my umbrella. There's EASE, which is in the engineering department specifically for students with autism. So there are different supports at different places, and you really have to talk with each university to find them.
We did have another question. Are these programs able to utilize FERPA like any other college student families do versus guardianship?
Yeah, we have FERPA and HIPAA guidelines. So my particular program is less about the disability documentation. That's focused on the accommodation side. My program is focused on the person-centered planning and support there. But yes, everybody who comes here as a student would have FERPA as one of the guiding laws that they're under.
We also did pass a law in Arizona, I believe 2 years ago now, that an IEP or 504 plan is sufficient documentation for an Arizona university to prove you have a disability. You're still going to negotiate accommodations, but it's the proof that you need so you don't have to reevaluate. I see a question. What programs or services exist that can help students develop the precursor skills outside of high school while still in high school, after high school, or not attending a traditional brick and mortar high school? So what are all the different options that we can get those precursor skills? Tracy may have some thoughts on that from VR perspective as well.
Yeah, we can offer what we call our pre-employment transition services that can start developing some of those skills, those independent skills, those skills that can help support individuals in making decisions about higher education, as well as self-advocacy, exploring career goals, as well as getting some work-based learning experiences to help them learn more about themselves as they go forward. Those services are available to anyone 14 to 22. And if they are a student, and it doesn't matter if it's a brick and mortar school or not, they can get those services to help them be successful as part of their journey. They also are able to apply for vocational rehabilitation services directly and start that journey to an employment goal at age 14. So we can start helping developing those skills and abilities so that they can make that transition more successfully.
Linda, you have your hand up. Do you have a question, or did we address it?
I have a few questions actually after those conversations. One, just to clarify, Tracy, students have to be, to get pre-eds, you have to be a student, correct? So in my mind, I was thinking a little bit about, after students have graduated, or maybe they're not enrolled in a traditional school, so pre-eds wouldn't be an option after they've finished high school. Is that correct?
That's not necessarily true, Linda, because pre-eds are available to individuals who are in in a college, a university, an adult education program. So they have to be a student, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a high school student.
Okay, but enrolled as a student to some extent. I didn't
I
necessarily.
think they could qualify if they have an ESA, if that's what you're asking, correct, Tracy?
So
Yeah.
if the,
Go ahead. Sorry, Tracy.
yeah, that's okay, Linda. So yeah, they should be able to qualify if they're actively a student enrolled in a program. And that
Yeah.
can be homeschool, that could be online college, online schooling, so vocational school. It covers a wide range.
Thank you for that clarification. So I was just kind of thinking of those students in between. Maybe they tried college or tried work or something else, and they want those. They need those skills. I understand the referral to VR as well, but just to clarify, some of the family members explained that their son or daughter wanted an experience like other children within their family, and VR is going to support the college and career and readiness for that if it relates directly to their employment goal, though. Isn't that right? It's not about experience with VR. So is that correct?
That is correct.
And so that's what I was kind of asking. We are lucky enough in our district to have a contract with Voc Rehab, so we get students, connected, and then we deliver direct services. And we've seen a lot of growth in our students in a model that we've implemented a couple of years ago, and our students with developmental disabilities. But they've kind of maxed out, or they have the mindset they want to go to the next step, but they're not quite ready for the next step. It's like they kind of need to get away from being a high school student, but there isn't anything quite in between. DDD services, which offers a day program, or VR sometimes, which isn't the extent of services, or it's not a program. So I was just throwing that out. That's something I've been thinking a lot about, and I appreciate the overview of Project Search. I've been aware of that program, but I don't know. It gives the impression that it's related. I'm not Project Search, but the project. It gives the impression that it's related to Project Search, but it's not. And so, right, Project Focus. It seems like that's just an individual thing that was created, between Tucson Unified and U of A. So if other districts are interested in that concept or idea of Project Focus, is there something that exists like the Project Search nationwide support system and that helps people get set up?
Let me address that in a couple ways, if you don't mind. One, Project Focus has expanded beyond TUSD. Originally it was TUSD, but it is Tucson area districts, to your point, but I just want to clarify that. One of the things that we are working on as when I'm helping the council with is how to incentivize the growth of more programs like Project Focus, as well as Project Search. I will also put a link, or Jason, maybe you could do it for me, the link to the new Project Search paper that we just put out. And I'm really excited to tell you that the Arizona Chamber of Commerce actually wrote an article just yesterday promoting Project Search, which is super exciting. But I think I can speak for the council to say we would love to see growth of both of those programs. And that's partly why we're having meetings like this and ongoing meetings in a parent advisory council. So we can, one, identify what the needs are in the community, specifically for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. But two, how can we leverage some of the great knowledge and resources and connections that parents have?
And Karla, I'll just share that I was made aware for Project Search that for 2013, we had 2 programs that had 100% employment of their youth, which is a great accomplishment.
Thank you for that information.
Do we have any other questions that maybe we've missed?
Questions to request tours. Sorry, I'm going through.
I have a question. This is Tana Treetop. I wanted to know if there's any data being kept on participants in these programs that may use the program, or, you know, whether it's intended or not, that it becomes a springboard for them to then enroll into degree-seeking programs at these institutions?
The program we're developing is a CTP. The certificate itself and the classes they take in our program will not transfer into for-credit degree programs. But if they get comfortable here and want to demonstrate skill to register at the academic level of a college student, they would be able to do that.
Thank you.
Our program is the same.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
And I'd say NAU's program, our students can take courses while in our program for credits if they choose to.
Hi, Tona. Nice to
Have you had students do that?
You repeat that?
Have you had students do that? Actually take the for-credit classes?
Yes, like we have had multiple, like I, during my presentation, referenced one student who graduated with her 4-year degree in teaching.
Right.
Took all of she was in our program for quite some time. It took her, you know, longer than her 4 years to complete her degree, but she did start by taking non-degree seeking courses, and then was able to transition into courses with some additional support to complete her full degree.
Yes, I do remember you highlighting. Yeah. Thank you.
So through Think College, regional alliances have developed to help support one another. So Arizona just a few months ago became a member of a fledgling consortium called the Four Corners Alliance. So it'll be us, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado, and how we can all work together to, one, provide professional development to the staffs at these schools, but also help one another, because Tony, you could speak specifically to that. There are, especially up on the reservation, there are a lot of students where the program might actually be closer in New Mexico or Utah than in Arizona.
That's an exciting development. Thanks for letting me know about that.
No problem. We'd love to have you involved. So let's follow up.
Okay.
You have such a great wealth of experience and up there. I appreciate it. We have a question about, does NAU have outlet programs here in the Valley or just in Flagstaff?
Oh, sorry, I answered that in the chat. We are just in northern Arizona. So from Mojave County all the way over to eastern Arizona, and then more recently in the Yuma area, but not in the Valley.
We also have a raised hand. Therese, would you like to ask your question?
Hi, I'm Therese Daravan, Samantha's mom, and thank you to the team for putting this on. I really appreciate it, especially Sarah, who's working really hard. So thank you. I had a question specifically about the ASU program. Adero, Sam and I came and talked to you, and you mentioned that you were trying to link up students with their interests, and it wouldn't be exactly like a lot of the other programs. So I know GCU has a program that I'm hearing lots of great things about. And it sounds like they're still doing about a 2-hour block of classes twice a week. Is that what ASU's would look like? And then also, are you still encouraging students to live on campus? Because I didn't hear, I was listening. I couldn't get my Zoom to work on my phone. So I think that's what I heard. So can you go into just a little bit of detail about that? Thank you.
I have living on campus as optional. It's easier for us to work together if you're here. In terms of the course blocks, we have 2 executive functioning courses, one in the fall and one in the spring in the first year. And then the second one's like an intermediate one, but all the other coursework should be in classes across the campus. We're looking at 2 classes per term. So in year 2, basically, you'd have those 2 classes in the coursework that applies to your career choice, and then have other meeting times with our staff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, Therese. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Karla.
We are almost out of time. If there's any quick questions, even if you're running out the door, please throw them in the chat and we'll get back to you. I will put my email address in there one more time. Maybe Adero, Heidi, and Tricia, you guys can put yours in there as well. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation. As far as I know, and I've been doing Arizona education policy for a long time, I don't know of any conversations that we've really ever had as a state of what the state of the state for higher ed for kids with intellectual disabilities. And quite frankly, to Lindsay's point, of all disabilities, I think this is such an overdue conversation. I hope it's the first of many. So we look forward to keeping in contact with all of you. Thank you very, very much, Tracy, Tricia, Heidi, and Adero for your time. Thank you to our interpreters as well. You guys are definitely working super hard. Please reach out to any of us, and thank you very much.
Special thanks to our team at the Arizona Developmental Disabilities Network, which includes the Arizona Developmental Disabilities Planning Council, Disability Rights Arizona, Institute for Human Development at Northern Arizona University, and the Sonoran Center for Excellence in Disabilities at the University of Arizona. Our team also includes the Arizona Association of People Supporting Employment First Chapter, Employment First, and RSA Vocational Rehabilitation. Please take a few minutes to complete the survey that was put in the chat. And we want to make you aware that October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So please stay tuned for upcoming events that will be sent out. We hope you enjoyed our presentation today, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
All right. If the prisoners could stay on, because we want to debrief for a couple minutes if you can. But this ends our webinar, and thank you, everyone. So.
That was excellent. Thank you all. Great presentation and really good questions.
Yeah, we had some educators and families and VR counselors. It's good to see the mix.
I think we're tapping into, like I said, I mean, and I meant that truly. I don't ever recall a time where this type of conversation has happened, especially more broadly for disability in higher ed. So.
Hello, I'm sorry. I came late, but I was listening. I'm sorry, I don't want to hold you, but I know it's recorded. I will get it in my email.
Yes, we will send this out. We're also going to send out a survey, so we would appreciate it if you could complete the survey. But yes, we will send out a recording.
Okay, thank you so much. And
Thank
then
you.
we'll get the other update.